I am playing this beautiful game called life, and I'm in the driver's seat. I'm the director of my life. I'm getting to choose and walk and create and write this beautiful story. Welcome to Intuition Unlocked, the podcast empowering empathic women who feel misunderstood, overwhelmed, or disconnected from their intuition, begin to trust their sensitivities, find inner clarity, and show up with embodied, unstoppable confidence in their daily lives. I am your host, Olivia Ashley, an empath and intuitive, and I am so happy you're here. Hi, I'm Olivia. If you haven't been here before, welcome. If you are returning, welcome back. I am so grateful that you are here, you've pressed play, and you are choosing to listen to something that is going to support and provide insight to you in this kind of wild time. Today's episode is all about spiritual wellness and how to integrate it seamlessly into your daily life. If you've been feeling overwhelmed or disconnected, then this episode will help provide you with a practical roadmap to return to your center and live with intention, and hopefully with some joy and playfulness and some magic in your life. I chose this topic because life can feel chaotic. And yet, what if you had the simple tools that could bring balance and joy and intention back into your day? That is what I see spiritual wellness as being. There are many things that can do this, and yet having a spiritual wellness practice is transformative. And it's not about perfection, about being serious. I think we can often equate spirituality to that Zen master that nothing ever bothers them. And I do not fully agree with that. I think that's one paradigm you can choose. And yet I see spiritual wellness as being connected to yourself, feeling deeply fulfilled, getting insight as you need to, and having and cultivating practices that support this wellness. Just like you work out or move your body to support your physical body, this is an aspect that's going to support your overall spiritual soul well-being. And that's really important. We need to feel connected to what matters and like we can show up for ourselves in the ways that actually feel deeply fulfilling versus running on the treadmill, hoping for more strength or a more full well of energy. And yet sometimes if you just keep running, you just get worn out. So what you'll learn in this episode is a clear understanding of spiritual wellness and why it matters, 4 powerful steps to cultivate it daily, and a renewed sense of inspiration to live a life aligned with your values and, most importantly, your intuition. So let's start with what is spiritual wellness, because this is a newer term even for me, even though I have been practicing this for a long time. This is something that I'm beginning to notice is being talked about in many different spiritual and wellness spheres. It's a blending of both to some degree. What spiritual wellness is really about is finding harmony between your inner self and the world around you. Can't we all get behind that? It's not confined to religion or even belief systems, but it's about aligning with your purpose, your heart, your joy, and your authenticity. When you prioritize spiritual wellness, you create space for clarity, resilience, and deeper connections with yourself, with spirit, with the universe, with others around you. And lots of studies are showing that practices like mindfulness, gratitude, and having rituals can significantly reduce stress and increase your overall well-being. So for me, spiritual wellness really became a lifeline in the last decade to help me keep afloat during these early years of motherhood and parenting and being a human and navigating these big changes in my life. I was really spread thin. I was barely keeping up with the demands of my life. And then something clicked, like this bigger aha happened. And I started implementing small practices that aligned with me, that felt good to me, that made me reflect and pause and remember my why, my purpose. I recently did an episode about finding your purpose. Go give that a listen if that's resonating with you or you want more support there. And I noticed that these little shifts, like doing yoga, meditating, journaling, channeling, going out in nature, prioritizing walks that were peaceful and outside versus running or just intensity, I found my groove, and it's going to look different for you, like it looks different for me. So noticing what helps you feel like you come back home to yourself, what helps you connect to that intuitive voice, and then also get guidance from both your community here on this earth, but also from your guides, angels, beings that you might be wanting to connect with. And like I said, spiritual wellness is not about being serious. It's about, I'd say, more bringing in playfulness and having an ability to find your own internal validation so you become so strong and resilient that you charge your own path. You don't need to conform or feel like you have to feel guilty for not going the path that others around you are going. It gives you the license to fully step into you and create a life around that. And the universe unfolds and ripples out, and you find your people, you find those opportunities because you are intentionally grounding, creating, believing in this space. The 4 steps I see that can help you cultivate spiritual wellness in your day-to-day are as follows. Step 1, know your why. So important. This is the first step because it's the most important piece to begin this practice and really start out on your spiritual wellness journey. So what does that mean? I'd say your why is your North Star. It's going to remind you of your deeper purpose, and it will keep you aligned when you are having to make decisions, move through big life changes, move through anything that's challenging or even exciting. You can always validate it and do that checks and balances against your why. Your why could be connected to your values. Your why could be what you're passionate about, what you're envisioning. Your why could be who you are, what your heart is, what it speaks to you about. And when you are clear about your why, it provides meaning and direction in life, which will thus empower you to make choices aligned with your core values and your spiritual aspirations. This life path is a journey, and it's one of growth and transformation and death and rebirth and all those big core pieces. And it's about integrating all of those aspects. Being spiritually well it's like you put glasses on that have a lens of spirituality, have a lens that you've imbued your intention, your values, your heart, your why, your intuition into it. And so when you are going about your day to day, you just have that on. You're connected. You can come from a place of more resource because you're doing the work and you're showing up for yourself versus not having that and then just getting inundated and thrown around. And what is this? Is this good for me? I have no idea because I'm not really even connected or listening to myself. It changes. And knowing your why really matters because the things that it will really support you with when you know your why is it anchors you in your purpose. It will help you feel a sense of meaning. It is that compass that's going to guide you towards practices, people's decisions, opportunities that truly resonate with your inner self. It's going to strengthen your commitment to life, to anything you're wanting to pursue. Because when you understand the reasons behind why you choose to have a spiritual practice, to be spiritual, the more likely you're going to stay consistent, even during those times that rock you, because you've already created that toolbox that you know is working, that feels good. And then sometimes you go and you have to drop or add and grow with it, but you already have that set point that you're building off of. It can bring clarity in uncertainty. Life can be overwhelming. Our days are full of things and to-dos, and that leads to stress and confusion and indecision. I've been there time and time again, and yet now I get excited to go, I get to make a choice. I am empowered and purposeful and intentional and I'm grounded. It's not overwhelming anymore. It's wow, I am playing this beautiful game called life, and I'm in the driver's seat. I'm the director of my life. I'm getting to choose and walk and create and write this beautiful story that I never know how it's going to turn up. But I love looking at hindsight and learning and going, whoa, look how that led to this, led to that, and finding that gratefulness of the journey. So, if you're unsure about your why, you can begin to ask some key questions such as, why do I engage in the practices I'm interested in? What do I hope to gain or transform through spiritual wellness? And how does this align with my greater life purpose? Start to examine those principles or ideals that are connected and most important to you, and pay attention to those inner nudges and feelings that will guide you towards certain practices or choices and help illuminate your why if you're unsteady about what that might be. Step 2 in cultivating spiritual wellness daily are finding practices that fill you up. Okay, your why is going to help get you here, but your spiritual practices should energize you and uplift you, not feel like an obligation. That is so important. And a spiritual practice is really referring to an intentional activity or habit that nurtures your connection to your inner self, the universe, God, higher power, nature, earth, all the things that you feel are important, but really zooming out and remembering you are part of this grand cosmos, this grand community and ecosystem, and just noticing those connections and finding that meaning and gratitude and presence. It will really help you bring this sense of inner peace and confidence. That is what we are building when we have a spiritual practice. Some characteristics of a spiritual practice to help you really drill in on what this means. The first is intentionality. So we are consciously intending to nurture our soul and to connect with something greater. There's inner growth. So we're fostering self-connection, mindfulness, and a deeper understanding to help us grow and move past and forward and flow forward in our life. It's going to build connection, often with yourself, with others, nature, a higher power. It's going to open those channels, your intuition, those clairs that you might be having and senses that are strong for you. And even it's going to bring a level of transcendence. Not all the time, but it happens more than you would think. These practices are going to help you go beyond surface level activities to help you engage with those deeper emotions, intuition, and insight, like the undercurrent. I'm seeing like a boat on the ocean, and we're dragging our anchor. And a lot of times we're grooving, we're sailing, and then we just drop it and it gets really down below and it's skimming the bottom and it's trudging up all this dirt and muck that isn't bad, but we haven't touched it in a while. And so it brings these deep ahas, like bubblings back up to the surface for us to look at. And when you're doing these types of practices, you get to have them more often because you're moving, open the door, you are consistently looking, checking in, asking, connecting, integrating. And so you can go to that bottom and help kind of clean your pool, your ocean, however you want to see it, to get more clarity and ease so you can just continue sailing forward. And I do want to say that there are a lot of practices that you might do that might not feel like they're actually spiritual, but as long as you are doing an activity where you're being intentional, where you are looking for self-growth or insight or connection, that can be spiritual. But the things that probably are not going to be within this is having a routine without mindfulness. So maybe you're just repeating an activity out of habit, like you're exercising just for the physical health and not necessarily the connection of how it really drops you in and connects you and nurtures your spirit. It's just, you're just doing it to do it because you think it's just what you do. There isn't that intentional consciousness behind it that's connecting you with your heart, your intuition, and helping you have that inner growth. Other things might be consumption-focused activities like watching TV or scrolling social media without reflection or purpose. I think we can learn a lot from both of those things. But again, what might be missing is your intention or really your truth of why are you doing this? Is this actually fueling you or is it taking away from you? And then also tasks driven by external validations, doing something primarily for appearance or societal expectations rather than fulfillment. We know these things, we know what that might look like in our life. So just noticing and experimenting with different activities where you can begin to assess which ones leave you feeling nourished and which ones kind of just deplete, or you do it just for the sake of doing it. And you don't have to do spiritual practices all the time. Just integrate one or two daily. Like I love to wake up in the morning and I'll meditate and I'll sit with my dogs and just breathe and check in. Simple as that. And then at the end of the night is usually when I journal and I pull some cards, or I'll channel and I connect and I drink my tea and I reflect, and it's just like me time. So it's not an everyday moment, but as you do this, it kind of becomes you're just always wearing those glasses with this spiritual lens. Step 3 around creating these spiritual wellness practices is creating rituals and moments of magic. So this somewhat goes up into this creating a spiritual practice, but I see rituals as being something important to call out, and those moments of magic, because that is where I find it really fun. The synchronicities, the symbolism, the connections that you get to have, and the power that rituals can bring you, because they're going to help anchor you and infuse your days with a little bit more intention and joy. So what is a ritual? I would say that this is like a set of actions or practices that are performed regularly. And it comes back to that intention, meaning, symbolism that you are imbuing them with. They can be personal, they can be communal, they can serve so many various purposes, such as finances, manifestation, love, ancestor connection, and the list goes on. But they're often tied to help us create a bit more structure, focus, and meaning in your life, because we all need a little bit more meaning in our life. Key aspects of rituals that I see as being important to have, you might not have all of them, are intention. I'm going to hammer this one down on this episode. Intention, intention, intention. Focusing on a specific outcome, like what are you calling forward? What is that purpose? What is your why? I can see why being tied up to intention. Always having that before you do anything, before you journal, before you meditate, before you read, before you set up an altar, light a candle. What is your intention with doing so? This is really going to start dropping you in and connecting with your intuition. Repetition is key. You don't have to do a ritual all the time, every day for it to be a ritual, but rituals are typically performed consistently. That's what a ritual is. It might be around a time of day, could be seasonal rituals, healing rituals. There's so many different aspects that can come in here with repetition. So you deciding what that looks like, but it creates an impact and a rhythm in your life when you are repeating and connecting and doing these rituals, and around full moons, new moons, around nature cycles, around birthdays, significant times, daily rituals that you decide to do. Also, I'd say there are usually examples of symbolism, so including elements that hold a personal or cultural significance. Like, this means this for you. If I see a feather or a penny or a certain animal, I really know that that is symbolizing my ancestors and my spirit guides, and there's a message there for me. So just noting what symbolism do colors, do shapes, do words, do anything mean to you, and can you integrate those into your rituals, because they draw that power and connection, especially the elements: water, air, earth, fire, ether, and bringing those in a very intentional way. Lastly, I'd say rituals are often a space for reflection and transformation. They're going to help us anchor, integrate, and build this spiritual wellness, which will provide transformation. It just does. I'm not sure why. I'm sure there's some science out there of the mechanisms of your brain and the biology of belief, and like becomes like. We are putting energy into these rituals, and thus there is a return to some degree. So you can start practicing this in very simple ways. You could have a certain candle where you light it, you ask a question, and you pull a card for the day. And then you leave that up and look at it throughout your day or your week and connect to it. You can do a gratitude ritual where you offer a prayer each morning and share 3 things you're grateful for. You can make an offering of smoke, of food, of water to extend your gratitude and offer and ask for safety, protection, abundance, whatever it is, healing in return. There's a lot of different ways that you can begin to practice a ritual. Maybe it's around a bath time of I'm intending for peace and connection and clarity. And so you have a little ritual of your crystals and your candles, and you set an intention before you take a bath. And maybe that's not your every bath, but that's your full moon, new moon bath. Okay, so you see how you can get really fun with these practices. It's supposed to be fun. And step 4 of this is really going to be listening to your intuition and using your voice. And so I put these together because I feel like they're super important. It's not only about trusting your gut feelings, but it's about expressing then your truth. So I use voice as the main example because that is what we are doing most. Our voice, our thoughts, our writings, that is all voice. And that is what we're here to do. That is how we can express and share and begin to integrate our wisdom into our life and well-being. So coming back to that very beginning, spiritual wellness is about finding harmony where we actively listen to our inner voice and take action on it. Whether it's in that moment or later on, we integrate it, we learn something, we get a little bit more anchored, and it throws us this lifeline of connection and information that enhances our well-being because that is what you're intending it to do. We are inundated with so many voices, so many expectations. We are overwhelmed. We are stressed. That is the nature of this life. And yet we are here making a difference. We are choosing differently and saying, okay, I'm still going to live the life I have right now, but I'm going to do so with a bit of a different lens on because I'm ready to reclaim my power, my confidence, my connection. And it will shift your axis. Like I literally see our lives just shifting a little bit on its axis, the way the earth spins on an axis. We adjust it because we are adjusting internally. We are asking for something differently. And so the energy is coming back differently. It becomes this beautiful dance of remembrance, expression, and lets you begin to remove anything that's false, anything that's an illusion, anything that's really just not here to serve because you're more radiant, you're more clear, you're more grounded, anchored, confident in what you are feeling. Oftentimes, intuition is going to come through with very practical advice, wear this, drive this way, order this thing. Yet there's space for those bigger ahas. They will present themselves when you're having a daily spiritual wellness practice. So just start today by tuning into your body's signals and following your small nudges. And speak your truth. Speak and make decisions based on what you hear, what you value, what your why is. It all comes back together. Maybe right now, choose a word that reminds you to intentionally drop in every day and ask, what do I need to know today? My word is simply ask. And my whole neighborhood is filled with cars that have ask in their license plate because for whatever reason, that is just what the DMV sent around here. And I have utilized it for my benefit. So choose a word that reminds you daily. You'll get a nudge. You'll just say the word. Your intuition will speak to you and it will help you. So why does all this matter? Let's bring it back to that why. This is going to help you build your life on your terms. When you prioritize this, you're going to create a life that feels meaningful and fulfilling and like you can actually get through life's challenges with some resource that full well. You can navigate things with grace and resilience. You will stumble, you will fall, you will fail. But guess what? You're going to be able to get up again and you're going to say, that was purposeful. I learned a lesson. I can continue forward. It allows you this connection to a bigger picture. We are often pulled in so many different directions. We're getting so much information coming in. Do this, do that. This is what this looks like. This is like your value system, your why, what you should be going for. Why aren't you doing it? And spiritual wellness is your anchor to remove that noise. You're going to hear it. You're going to see the distractions, and yet you're going to be like, oh, cool. I'm going to keep going this way because this is my path and that's your path. And I honor it, but I don't need to hear it anymore or hear it as much. It reminds you that life isn't necessarily linear or chunked by moments in time. You begin to remember that it's just this one flow state, this bigger creation, this connection, this spiralic life that we are a part of in this very short moment of space and time. And when we can tap into that, it zooms us out. It puts us into that river of flow where we see the boulders, we notice them, but we're maneuvering, we're surrendering, we're remembering that we choose our life and create our life. It just takes a slight adjustment to your beliefs and your practices and what you want to put your energy behind. Personally, when I started trusting my intuition and weaving these practices into my days, I noticed that I was alive. I think I forgot what it was like to feel excited, interested, curious. For so long, I was just tired and stressed, and I didn't get it. Like I was tapped out and ready to be tapped out. I spent most of my time just feeling uncomfortable and sad, and like there was nothing here for me. And yet, when I focused on building my spiritual wellness and intuition through listening to my intuition, pursuing opportunities that came up, such as yoga or Reiki, herbalism, having babies, being a mother, connecting to myself and remembering like I am this beautiful, wild creatrix that is so deeply wise and purposeful, and I might not fully understand it, but I can choose and believe in that manner. Life just adjusted, and it takes time. It's not about perfection or the right now and solving everything in this moment. I learned it's just about progress, the simple, fulfilling progress that shows and reminds you of this bigger soul path, bigger understanding of our part in this universe and how much more is out there and ready and willing to support us if we open ourselves up and invite in these practices and tools, because otherwise we are empty wells. We need more energy. We want more clarity. But if we're not bringing in things that help pull water back into that well, we're going to be scraping the bottom and we're going to be tired and stressed and things aren't going to change. I promise you that if you begin to focus on these things and just choose one thing out of this whole episode to take away, things are going to change and in really beautiful, slow probably, but beautiful ways. So remember, spiritual wellness is about reconnecting to yourself and the world around you through intentional practices. By knowing your why and choosing practices that nourish you and creating rituals and trusting your intuition, you will build a life that feels balanced and authentic. It's not in the distance. It's here. It's now. It's by starting today. So if you've been feeling disconnected, know that everything you need is inside of you to create peace and joy. By taking small, consistent steps, it will make a world of difference. Thank you for listening. If you found this episode helpful, please be sure to follow the podcast so you never miss it and share it with someone who you think could benefit from this conversation. If you'd be so willing, please leave a rate and review. It goes such a long way, even just 5 stars. I would so appreciate it. Let's inspire more people to unlock their intuition and build lives that bring confidence, clarity, and connection too. Thank you again for being here. I'm so grateful for you. Have a beautiful rest of your day, your week, and remember, set an intention and begin to create a life of true wellness. Thank you for joining me on Intuition Unlocked. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe so you never miss a moment of insight, guidance, or intuitive inspiration. To dive deeper into our community and get access to exclusive content, head to my website at www.olivia-ashley.com and subscribe to my newsletter. You can also connect with me on Instagram at wildlyolivia for daily inspiration and updates. Remember, your intuition is your superpower. Trust it, nurture it, and let it guide you. Until next time, I'm Olivia Ashley, and I can't wait to connect with you again.